Ozempic, Wegovy, Zepbound. You've heard the names, right? These drugs, the GLP-1s, have absolutely exploded into our culture. I mean, they've gone from a pretty specific diabetes treatment to this global conversation about weight, health, and honestly, the future of medicine itself. So let's unpack how this whole revolution happened and where it's all headed next.
To really get a sense of the scale here, just look at this number. By 2030, the market for these drugs is projected to hit over $100 billion. That's not just a successful drug. That is a force that is completely reshaping the entire pharmaceutical industry and, maybe our whole healthcare system.
I know, it feels like one day nobody had heard of these things and the next day they were just everywhere. But the story, of course, isn't that simple. So, how did a class of drugs this huge just pop up overnight? Well, the answer is a journey that took decades, and it starts in a very, very unexpected place.
Okay, so first, let's get a handle on the here and now. The cultural and financial impact of these drugs is already just impossible to ignore. This goes way beyond medicine. It's a fundamental shift in how we think about one of our biggest health challenges.
Yeah, this is not some niche topic that's only being discussed in doctors' offices. Public awareness is massive. When you have around 70% of adults in the US saying they've heard of GLP-1s, you know it's a full-blown cultural phenomenon. It's sparking a ton of hope, a lot of debate, and just a huge amount of curiosity.
So let's rewind. The origin story of these blockbuster drugs is genuinely one of my favorites, and it has nothing to do with some high-tech lab. Nope, it has everything to do with a venomous lizard from the American Southwest.
The key to this whole story is the Gila monster. So get this, it only eats a handful of times per year, but it keeps its blood sugar perfectly stable. In the 1990s, an endocrinologist, Dr. John Eng, figured out why. He found a hormone in its saliva called Xendin-4, which was amazingly similar to a human gut hormone, GLP-1. But, and this is the kicker, the lizard's version lasted for hours in the body, not just minutes like ours. And that discovery, well, that was the spark that lit the whole fire.
And from that lizard venom discovery, innovation just took off like a rocket. In 2005, you get Byetta, which was based on that lizard hormone, approved for type 2 diabetes. Then by 2014, we had the first one specifically for weight loss, Saxenda. But then the game really changed. Ozempic shows up in 2017, then its higher dose cousin, Wegovy, in 2021. And just last year, Zepbound hit the market, pushing the effectiveness even further.
So, how do they actually work? It's actually kind of elegantly simple. They're called GLP-1 receptor agonists because they just mimic a natural hormone our gut releases when we eat. And this hormone does three main things. It tells your brain, hey, you're full. It slows down how fast your stomach empties, and it helps your pancreas release the right amount of insulin. The result? You feel full sooner, you stay full longer, and you end up eating less. Simple as that. And that simple mechanism is exactly why this has become an absolute game changer in treating obesity, a condition that has, frankly, stumped medicine for decades.
To really appreciate this breakthrough, you have to look at what came before. The older weight loss drugs, a lot of them were basically stimulants. They were designed to speed up your metabolism, meant for short-term use, and they came with a laundry list of side effects and safety issues. The new GLP-1s, it's a totally different universe. They target the body's own natural appetite system, they're designed for long-term chronic management, and they're just way more effective.
And the effectiveness is just remarkable. Look at this. In a head-to-head trial, patients on Wegovy lost almost 14% of their body weight. But on Zepbound, that number jumped to over 20%. These are not small numbers. These are results that are starting to get into bariatric surgery territory, all from a weekly shot. And this is crucial. This is not just about losing weight. In 2023, the huge SELECT trial delivered just stunning news. Wegovy also cut the risk of major cardiovascular events, we're talking heart attacks, strokes, by 20% in patients with obesity. This was the proof everyone was waiting for, that the benefits go way beyond the number on the scale. But, and you knew there had to be a but, right? This medical miracle comes with a really serious catch. The incredible promise of these drugs is basically running headfirst into the hard realities of our healthcare system, and it's creating this massive conflict. And that conflict starts right here. The list price for these medications is around $16,000 a year. Without good insurance, that price tag puts them completely out of reach for the vast majority of people who could benefit from them. And even for those who do get access, there's another challenge, just sticking with it. Outside of those perfect clinical trials, real-world data shows that about 68% of patients, so more than 2/3, stop taking the drug within a year.
And that's often due to a mix of things. You've got side effects like nausea, you've got persistent drug shortages, and of course, that high cost.
The financial strain is just immense. This quote from North Carolina's state health plan, it really sums up the crisis for employers and insurers everywhere. They flat out called the cost of covering these drugs financially unsustainable. And you're hearing that sentiment all over the country as health plans are just struggling with this potential explosion in costs. But despite all these challenges, the story is only getting bigger. Researchers now think that targeting this whole GLP-1 pathway could have benefits for a staggering number of other health conditions, which is leading a lot of people to ask, is this the everything drug of the future?
And that future? It's arriving fast. Zepbound is now on track to make history as the first drug ever approved by the FDA to treat obstructive sleep apnea in adults with obesity. That's just the first domino of what experts think will be many, many new uses for these drugs. And the pipeline, it is breathtaking. GLP-1s are in late-stage trials right now for chronic kidney disease, a specific type of heart failure, and a serious liver disease called MASH. But the research goes even further than that. They're exploring potential benefits for substance use disorders and even neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. The potential to transform medicine is almost hard to wrap your head around. So this brings us to the ultimate question, doesn't it? There's no doubt a true medical revolution has arrived, one that could totally redefine how we treat some of our most complex and devastating diseases. The science is incredible, the potential is immense, but that central tension is still there. Who is actually going to get to be a part of it?